22 612.
Or call 1300 222 612.
It's 13 past 7.
A second teenager accused of killing Northlake's mother, Emma Lovell, has been acquitted of both murder and the alternate charge of manslaughter. After a judge-only trial, Justice Michael Copley found that the now 18-year-old didn't kill the mother of two, finding him guilty of burglary and assault.
And this judgment handed down yesterday. Emma's husband, Lee, was in court to hear the verdict and walked out devastated by the result.
This is like people's lives, isn't it? You know, people's lives and families and husbands, wives or whatever, and we're the ones having to live with this afterwards, and, you know, they get to carry on doing whatever they're doing, and as other people say in the past, like, we're the ones who are left with a life sentence now, and everyone else carries on what they're doing, so...
Lee Lovell speaking outside court to reporters. I want to bring in Dr Terry Goldsworthy, an associate professor in criminology at Bond University, a leading voice on crime and justice. Terry, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Can you talk us through your understanding of how the judge reached this decision?
Yeah, well, first, I guess it was a judge-only trial for your listeners, and, you know, they're highly unusual. If you throw your mind back to Dr Jaden Patel, he tried to get a judge-only trial and failed. So they're only given in exceptional circumstances where there's, in this case, there was significant pre-trial publicity that may have affected the deliberations. But, you know, the judge had to, I guess, look at the murder charge in terms of, was the second offender aware that the first person was armed? And if so, was it a probable consequence, the outcome in terms of the stabbing? So the judge came to the decision that he was satisfied that there was a common intention to go into the property, but he wasn't satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that there was a common intention to do so whilst armed with the knife. And he based that on basically that there was what he classified as reasonable doubt as to whether the second co-offender knew that the first one was in possession of the knife. Now, there was CCTV footage. I mean, I haven't seen any of the evidence, but the reporting is that there was CCTV footage of the front door, which showed an interaction between the two offenders. The knife is visible, etc. The judge has come back and said he didn't deem that sufficient to indicate that the second offender knew the knife was present.
Yeah, so the judge had to be satisfied beyond reasonable doubt. He says he wasn't, and that is why that decision was made of acquittal on murder and manslaughter, but there was a guilty finding on burglary and assault. This teenager will now be sentenced, I think, early next month. You heard the disappointment in Lee Lovell's voice as he spoke outside court. Do you echo his concerns, Terry?
Well, I do. I mean, there's a section in the Criminal Code, in the murder 302, section 302, it talks about if the death is caused in the act of prosecution of an unlawful purpose and the necessity for intention is removed, you know, maybe the new government needs to look at these laws around that and go, well, if you're going to break into someone's home with another offender, you know, and someone is killed, it doesn't matter if you don't know that they're armed. I mean, I just don't know who in the public would think this is a good outcome. I mean, it is the outcome. It's what the judge has determined. But I think many in the public would be saying, well, you want to break into people's houses in the middle of the night, you take the risk if your friends are armed, even if you don't know. So whether the government will look at whether there's a loophole there that they think they need to adjust, etc., will be up to them, I guess. They're obviously looking at a whole range of issues around youth offending. But in terms of the aggravated burglary, I do note the comments of the victim's husband that he's not sure if he'll bother turning up. And he's got good grounds to say that, because the sentencing data for the last 5 years tells us that for youth offenders, only 13% of them for aggravated burglary will get a detention sentence. And those sentences, the average is 7 months. Now, to put that in context, the criminal code says that if you commit a burglary with at night or in company, makes it an aggravated burglary, you are liable up to life imprisonment. So he is going to get nowhere near life imprisonment.
Is there an avenue, though, to challenge the decision?
You can't, and generally the principle is you can't challenge a not guilty verdict. I'm not sure if that's different for a judge-only trial, but certainly a jury trial. New South Wales has an exception, a couple of other very small exceptions, but generally you can't challenge a not guilty verdict for jury because we don't want the state, using their resources to grind someone down. In terms of the sentencing, that's always appealable. So I guess we will be watching with interest to see what this person does get sentenced to. There will be, precedents, etc., in terms of other sentencing options coming in and that type of stuff. The first offender, he got sentenced to 14 years for the murder offence. He's appealing that murder sentence. So, both sides can appeal the sentence in terms of being too severe, not severe enough. So, I mean, this is, I guess, a topical discussion. We saw, a main policy plank of the LNP on the election was around the issue of how much time is given to youth offenders. And here we have today a perfect example where we're going to, I guess, sit back and watch and see what does come out of this.
Terry, we most certainly will. Appreciate your insights this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr. Terry Goldsworthy, Associate Professor in Criminology at Bond University. And just speaking of the LNP, yes, they certainly took that forward slogan and policy to the election. Adult time for adult crime. Today, we'll be watching with interest to see who ends up as the Attorney General or the Minister for Justice within David Crisafulli's government. That front bench due to be sworn in at Government House this morning, but we don't know who will be who and with what portfolio quite yet.